The number alone was enough to stop people cold. When reports confirmed a 24-hour surgery, fans immediately sensed this was not a routine procedure quietly handled behind the scenes. The shock deepened when Jamie Dornan himself chose to speak, breaking a silence that had grown increasingly heavy. What he said was brief, controlled, and unsettling in its restraint. For someone known for guarding his private life, Jamie Dornan's decision to address the situation carried unusual weight. He has rarely discussed health matters publicly, preferring to keep personal challenges separate from professional visibility. That pattern made his statement feel necessary rather than optional. Fans understood instantly that this was not a casual update meant to reassure. The hours leading up to his message were filled with quiet concern. Schedules were altered without explanation, appearances were postponed, and communication from his team remained minimal. In an industry where even minor delays are often clarified quickly, the lack of detail stood out. It suggested something more serious unfolding beyond public view. The surgery itself was described only in fragments. No diagnosis was shared, no medical specifics offered, only the staggering duration that implied complications or unexpected turns. 24 hours in an operating room is not standard, and Jamie Dornan did not attempt to soften that fact. By allowing the number to stand on its own, he let it speak louder than any explanation. When his statement finally arrived, fans expected reassurance. Instead, they received something more complex. Jamie avoided dramatic language, but he also avoided comfort phrases that often follow health scares. He did not say everything was fine, nor did he frame the experience as fully behind him. That choice unsettled many who were listening closely. His tone suggested reflection rather than relief. There was an undercurrent of gravity, as if he were acknowledging the seriousness without inviting panic. The message felt deliberate, shaped to balance honesty with privacy. For fans accustomed to polished updates, the rawness of restraint felt unfamiliar. Almost immediately, reactions flooded in. Some expressed gratitude simply for hearing his voice again, interpreting the statement as proof of recovery. Others fixated on what was missing, noting the absence of timelines, next steps, or definitive reassurance. The divide revealed how deeply invested fans had become in the uncertainty. What made the moment especially powerful was Jamie Dornan's choice of timing. He did not wait for speculation to peak, but he also did not rush to control the narrative. The statement arrived when concern had settled into something heavier than curiosity. It felt like an acknowledgement of responsibility rather than obligation. Industry observers noted how rare this approach has become. In many cases, public figures rush to minimize health scares, fearing damage to perception or marketability. Jamie Dornan did the opposite, allowing seriousness to remain visible. That transparency, even limited, reframed the situation. The language he used invited interpretation without directing it. Fans searched for clues in phrasing, cadence, and emphasis, trying to understand how close he came to fear. The lack of specifics created space for empathy rather than certainty. It reminded audiences that some experiences resist neat summaries. Behind the scenes, the reaction was reportedly cautious. Advisors recognized that too much detail could provoke alarm, while too little risked misinformation. Jamie's statement appeared to walk that narrow line, offering presence without disclosure. It was a difficult balance, and not everyone found it comforting. As the hours passed, the shock did not fade. Instead, it evolved into concern mixed with respect. Fans began to acknowledge the courage it takes to speak at all after such an ordeal. The message was not about drama, but about reality, however incomplete. What lingers now is the weight of what remains unsaid. A 24-hour surgery is not something easily dismissed, and Jamie Dornan did not try to do so. His words opened a window, not a door, leaving fans with awareness rather than answers. That may be why the reaction was so strong. This moment marked a shift in how many see him, not just as an actor navigating success, but as a person confronting vulnerability in real time. The statement did not resolve fear, but it acknowledged it. And in doing so, it left an impression far deeper than reassurance ever could. The days following Jamie Dornan's statement were defined by uncertainty rather than relief. Fans expected a follow-up, a clarification, or at least a signal that the worst had passed. Instead, there was only quiet, broken occasionally by indirect updates about postponed commitments. That absence of reassurance kept attention fixed on what the 24-hour surgery might actually mean. As speculation grew, many began re-examining Jamie Dornan's words with new intensity. The phrasing now felt intentional, almost protective, as if he were acknowledging gravity without inviting alarm. He had not framed the surgery as a battle already won, nor as a temporary setback easily brushed aside. That careful balance suggested a recovery process still unfolding. Industry insiders noted that extended silence after such a statement often reflects ongoing assessment rather than avoidance. Public figures are frequently advised to wait until there is clarity before offering updates, especially when health is involved. In Jamie's case, the lack of detail hinted that answers were still forming behind closed doors. Patience, not secrecy, appeared to be guiding the response. Fans responded in waves of concern and support. Messages flooded social platforms, not demanding information, but expressing solidarity and restraint. Many acknowledged that while curiosity is natural, entitlement is not. The tone shifted from shock to quiet vigilance. What unsettled people most was the contrast between the severity implied by the surgery and the minimalism of communication. A procedure lasting an entire day suggests complexity, yet Jamie Dornan resisted the urge to contextualize it medically. By doing so, he preserved a boundary that many celebrities struggle to maintain. The choice reinforced the idea that transparency does not require full disclosure. Observers also pointed out the emotional maturity in how the situation was handled. There was no attempt to dramatize, monetize, or leverage sympathy. The message stood alone, free of embellishment or framing. That restraint earned respect even from those who felt anxious. As time passed, subtle signals became the focus. A brief appearance, a small acknowledgement from a colleague, or a resumed obligation was scrutinized for meaning. Fans searched for progress without demanding it. The community adjusted to waiting rather than speculating wildly. Behind the scenes, advisors reportedly emphasized consistency. Any sudden update risked contradicting earlier restraint, while prolonged silence could fuel unnecessary fear. Maintaining a steady, low-key presence was seen as the safest course. In moments like this, stability often matters more than speed. For Jamie Dornan, the experience may mark a recalibration of public engagement. Health events have a way of reshaping priorities, especially when vulnerability becomes visible. Choosing when and how to speak afterward is part of that recalibration. His approach suggested a desire to remain grounded rather than reactive. The broader conversation also shifted toward empathy. Fans began sharing stories of long recoveries, unexpected complications, and the emotional toll of uncertainty. Jamie's brief statement had opened space for reflection rather than panic. It reminded people that not every story needs a resolution on demand. As weeks approach, expectations have softened. Instead of waiting for dramatic confirmation, fans now look for quiet signs of normalcy returning. That change in posture reflects trust rather than indifference. It shows an understanding that recovery does not follow a public schedule. What remains clear is that the shock was never just about the surgery's length. It was about confronting the fragility that even success cannot shield. Jamie Dornan's handling of the moment allowed that truth to surface without spectacle. In doing so, he reshaped how the situation is remembered. Ultimately, this chapter will be defined less by the operation itself and more by the response it inspired. Calm, restraint, and patience replaced rumor and fear. That transformation did not happen by accident. It was guided by a choice to speak once, carefully, and then let time do the rest.